What up, folks? This is Dino, aka Your Solid Five. We're here with a movie this week called Spell. Nick, who's the director and writer?
Well, my name is Nick, and the director is Kurt Wimner, and the director is Mark Tone Derry. If as you know, Kurt Wimmer has also directed some other horror movies in the past. Children of the Corn, 2020. Kurt Wimmer has also directed some other movies in the past. Children of the Corn in 2020. Point Break 2015, and The Beekeeper and Total Recall. And director Mark Torderney, Tonderi.
Tondere?
Is that how you say it?
That's what I'm assuming.
Tondere?
Tondere?
Tondere. Mark Tondere.
Or Tondere? I don't know, whatever. Who cares?
That sounds better. Director Mark Tondere, also director of House on the End of the Street, and Day of the Dead 2017, and Hush.
Yeah, he's been around.
Yeah, he's been around.
Actually, both of you guys have been around for a while.
Some good movies in there.
Yeah, so this movie is about Hoodoo, which is basically dark magic in the voodoo community. So as we know, voodoo is actually part of a religion in South Africa, or in Africa. And then Hoodoo is actually the magic sort of behind that religion, or beyond it. So this movie is about how people will use it on a darker side. Because I think a lot of times they use it for like healing and stuff like that, but some people use it for, bad shit, like you'll see in this movie.
That's right.
Yeah, you'll see some messed up stuff.
Yes, you will.
This movie's about an African American family, and the father gets a call about his father passing away, and he has to go and clean up the property, the house or whatever. That's what the plan is.
That's right.
So we start the movie off at the apartment or whatever condo, whatever wherever he lives. Well, first the office, and then he gets the call, and no, he's at home first.
No, he's always at home first, and his wife's locked into the door,
room,
and for some reason he plays around there, and then unlocks it. Pick locks it, by the way, some known skill that he's just acquired, and then it ends up at the office where he's actually a lawyer for a firm, and he gets a phone call from Otis Peely, is the guy is the person he gets a call from in Kentucky.
Oh, that's where they're at? Kentucky?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where it comes from. The secretary says Kentucky, so that's Kentucky.
Okay, I missed that, but okay. I thought it was like somewhere in Georgia or some shit.
That's what I thought. I thought it was Tennessee, to be honest.
Okay.
But it ended up being in Kentucky, and
Okay.
so they get the call. Go to Kentucky, and he has a discussion with his family, and his son, for some reason, is not happy with going there.
Well, his son's also pretty. The whole family's pretty privileged. Because he makes a shit ton of money.
Yeah,
And,
it's a pretty proud black family, to be honest.
Yeah, which is great because he's making money. So,
Yeah.
But you can tell like the son's pretty privileged and he plays sports and shit. So, which is not a bad thing, also, but also like, I don't know. You can tell later on in the movie he's kind of like not well groomed for the real world.
No, not at all. It's never seen a day of light, to be honest.
So the dad also has like a private plane, almost like a crop plane, but like it's just like a small like 4 or 5 seater or
It's
something
like
like
a
that.
small personal pilot plane.
Yeah, like I said,
Nothing fancy.
super small single engine plane. So I'm assuming they don't fly very far because
They can't in that because
right, it's just
there's not enough gas in that plane to do so.
yeah, only a couple hundred miles probably.
Yeah, which probably brings the reason why they stopped at a gas station.
At that like shitty little gas station, which I didn't even know. It didn't even look like it was open.
No, butt fuck nowhere.
Yeah. So apparently they're in the middle of Kentucky and they stop at this little rinky-dink gas station to fill up, and the dad walks in there and it's just like, it looks like it's abandoned, but there's a dude behind the counter and he's just like doing some weird shit.
Yeah.
I forgot exactly. He's doing some like some hoodoo shit apparently.
Yeah, some
And,
straight spooky stuff.
Yeah, like he's got shit conjuring up there. So while he's in there, the family is out on the plane. The son looks out and there's a teenage boy just kind of like snooping around, and that's when the teenage boy kind of confronts him a little bit. Not really confronts him, but he's kind of like, hey, what's up, and then
Yeah, that boy's doing more than snooping. I can tell you that.
yeah, he's it looks like he's about to rob the ship.
But, gotta rob that boy.
Yeah, rob that family. Got some money. So it gets weird. It gets weird fast, as far as like the boy goes. And he convinces the son to like give him the phone, not give him the phone, but to look at his phone.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of like bitches out, and he's like too scared to get it back, basically.
Yeah, which I don't get. When his family is all around him, and one kid in the desert.
Yeah, it's literally in the middle of nowhere. There's probably not a house within like 50 miles from where they're at.
Yeah,
it's like I said, I don't know why there's a gas station there, but there is.
But then what probably brings a lot of kids fear is he is disabled. Don't forget, he's disabled with that one hand. It's all messed up. So I'll be kind of scared too if someone take my phone. I knew it could.
So that kid had a disabled hand?
No, the son.
Oh, but his hand wasn't disabled though at the time.
Wasn't it? It was broken. Wasn't it broken?
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. See, this is why you're here. This is why I forgot about shit like that.
Yeah, he had that broken hand. He had that like
wrapped up,
elongated finger for some reason.
Oh, it was from, I think it was a basketball accident. Yeah. Okay. See now, that's why I should have watched it again.
It's all coming back now.
It's all coming back. Anywho, the boy said something funny towards the end though of that scene where he's like, "Well, you should have got a 5G phone instead of like he's like, that shit ain't gonna work out here,
Yeah.
So I kind of laughed at that part a little bit. The dad gets back. He instead of using the outhouse, he's like, "Fuck that! I'm not gonna use that because it was just like a hole in the ground, with like."
They straight up had a crescent moon shaped on the door.
Yeah, and
can't get any more outhouse than that.
That's some like fucking deep cuts, like backwoods shit.
It's some medieval time stuff right there.
That's just gross. You probably shit everywhere in there. Yeah, he didn't even use the bathroom because he was kind of like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm not gonna." Well, he didn't use the bathroom, right?
No, he didn't. He walked straight off from that thing.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't either unless I had to take a piss, but I'm not shitting that thing. The sheriff rolls up on them right before they're leaving, or actually right after they park, essentially.
Oh, I know. It's right before they leave.
That's right before they leave.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then the sheriff pulls them over, or not pulls them over, but turns on his sirens and
he's just checking up on them because they don't get a lot of folks around there,
And there's like your regular old country bunk sheriff,
At least he was black.
That's right. That's probably the only black sheriff in town.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it has to be something else.
Well, I don't know. They don't show any white people in this movie.
No. So it seems like it's a black community.
Yeah, a very small community, but nonetheless. He rolls up on them. He's just kind of checking up on them, but he's a lawyer. He knows his rights. He knows the laws. And he kind of just was like, "Hey, like, can I just go on my way? Because you don't need it. There's nothing we need to do here." And the sheriff's kind of, I don't know. He's just kind of whatever. He's kind of a dick, but he's kind of not. He just doesn't like strangers in the area. But it's kind of ominous. Like, some shit's gonna go down at some point because that's probably the reason why he's there. Maybe to make sure that they stay too. Who knows?
Yeah, there's a lot of back detail to this sheriff guy that eventually you will find out towards the end of this movie.
Yeah,
that kind of explains does explain his actions with how he acts. Because it's weird when he gets there. It's like he kind of does try to give him a warning, like,
right.
Hey, you guys, what are you guys doing? This and that. And then, but then he just like kind of just like pulls off him a little bit after the dad puts him in check about the laws.
Yeah, he knows his shit. So he probably researched like the state laws and everything.
Yeah, before he left.
I'm sure he did.
He did his.
They just didn't show it.
He did his studies.
He's a smart dude. So the sheriff checks up on them, and they go on their merry way. Well, not very merry for very long because they crash, and he has no recollection of like the crash itself. He knows that like it'll go sideways for a second, and then he wakes up in this like upstairs. He just wakes up in a room. Doesn't know where he's at. Doesn't know where his family is. He's freaking out, and is he tied up in the bed or is he just
No, he's not tied up yet. He wakes up freely.
He just wakes up freely. Okay.
Yeah, and he starts his
but his foot's all mangled.
His foot's all mangled, but he's acting frantic.
Yeah, it's like it's all cut up and shit. It's pretty bad. Like, it would take somebody like months to recover from that thing, at least.
Yeah.
At least, yeah. So then we get Eloise. Is that her name?
Yeah, Eloise. Eloise walks into the door, and she is your regular root person, magic voodoo woman who walks in with first thing going off talking about how she's offended of Jesus Christ as he's using the Lord's name in vain. And she's not really happy with that. So, what happens next? That she calls in for her husband Earl.
Yeah,
Earl. She calls in for her husband Earl, who introduced himself walking up the stairs, and is an old. How would you describe him?
Just an old, tired black dude.
Yeah.
Just probably tired of his wife yelling at him all the time.
Done with the world, ready to pass, and he comes walking up with the cane, and they're trying to calm down. So they try to calm down Marcus as he's frantically asking about his wife, and he's swearing up and down, and she's not liking that. So, after they had enough of that, they call up another character that is introduced.
What's that big dude's name?
What's that big guy's name? Lewis.
Is it Lewis? Yeah, Lewis.
Yeah.
Wait, Steve Malulu. That's a weird name for a big old black dude, but okay.
He's like what's that guy's? What's that other big black dude's name? The one from fucking Green Mile. It looks like him. But
Duncan or Michael Clark Duncan.
Is that his name?
I think that was him. I'm pretty sure.
Is it?
The Green Mile.
That's why I asked.
Yeah.
It looks like
he died like a while back.
He did.
Yeah.
Well, Lewis looks like that big guy from Green Mile. Very similar to that. So they come walking upstairs, and eventually they end up putting Marcus back down to sleep with some magic root potion.
Yeah, that she blows it in his face, right?
Yeah, and she blows in his face. So she'll take you up, and she'll take you down. She'll take you aside and round and round.
That was some good shit there. And so he basically has like fever dreams for like at least a couple of days. It seems like he's just and he wakes up all sweaty and shit. What happens in between that? Is that when he tries to sneak out in the next scene, or she brings the voodoo doll first, right? Or the hoodoo doll first?
She brings him the boogity.
The boogity, yeah.
She comes in with the boogity doll that she handcrafted down there with some blood, some dirt, some mud, and then she rolled it all up into a doll. And then Earl took a nice little spin on it, and then it was complete. And then it was complete from there on. Then she dragged that boogity doll down upstairs and put it onto his window. And then after
they had to have used his blood, right? Because
they used someone's blood, but see, again, that's why I asked, where did that blood come from? Did it come from?
Probably from his foot.
You think so?
Maybe, because it was still like stitched up or whatever.
Yeah, it came from somewhere.
Yeah, I'm assuming it was because like with like magic like that, like you have to use stuff from that person, right?
Or his blood family.
Maybe his bloodline, but I think it has to be attached to him because everyone like later on in the film she like uses it to like do things to him.
Yeah.
I think it has to be like his stuff, like his blood or his hair, whatever she uses.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has to be attached.
You're
to
right,
him.
because she said that the boogity doll contained his blood, his hair, his toenail clippings, and his semen.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
his special. I don't know how I got that.
I was like, yeah, how did they fucking?
She did something to him. She did something to him.
A prostate exam.
Yeah, that wasn't a fever dream. I can tell you that.
Right, yeah.
And then
hey, she's old, but she's getting some, right?
Yeah, she got something somehow. Earl ain't giving it.
Right, he's too damn old. He's gonna shriveled up dick,
And that's when she placed it on the windowsill and lined the windowsill with salt, saying, "Now the devil can't get in."
Yeah.
And he went outside.
So we get that scene where he busts out the window, but he opens the window. He breaks he breaks the seal of the salt basically. So, and he gets on the roof. He doesn't know where. Like again, he doesn't know where he's at. He knows that he's at that family's house or property
in the middle of nowhere.
And it's raining hard, like very hard, and he's trying to get back to the ground, but his foot's all mangled up. So he jumps across, each he jumps across the main house and then onto like the next like shed or something like that.
Yeah, it's like a shed.
Yeah, like and then towards the barn, 'cause that's where like they have all the rituals, right?
Yeah.
So there's a hole in the ceiling, which is kind of funny. Like I'm surprised they didn't fix that at some point, because you got the,
They're in the middle of nowhere in the country, doing root rituals and fucking voodoo things. I'm pretty sure I'm not worried about fixing the hole in it.
yeah, I guess so.
That's like more power right there, dude. The power of the man right there.
Well, it's convenient for him because he gets to see like the whole ritual itself. So
Yeah.
the
Lucky
town
him.
is basically having like a meeting there for healing. So they have different things to like heal these people, and one of them was like cat eyes, or was it goat eyes? I forgot. Goat eyes, cat tongue, and I think that was the only two that he saw.
That's the only two I remember. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So
So
it was an okay movie.
yeah,
But,
it was,
but yeah, it was the tongue and then the goat eyes. And
Yeah.
the goat eyes I remember because of actually this picture I took. that I will show my man over here real quick. Hey, here's gonna remember this one. You see?
yeah. That was kind of cool though.
That's why I took it.
Yeah. So there's a blind man and there's a girl that cannot speak, and I think that they use the tongue on the doll, right?
They put the tongue on the doll.
Yeah, because the tongue is too small for her actual mouth. But it actually cured her ability to speak,
Yeah,
and also made the
miracles happen.
right. Yeah. So and the guy can see now. So the first scene I think was the tongue. And then the second scene was the eyes, right?
That's what it
yeah,
was,
because
yeah.
that's when he looks up and he's like, she's like, "What can you see? What can you see?" And then he's like, he looks up and he goes, "Him."
Yeah,
And then,
that was the first thing you see. He saw pretty good too.
yeah. Yeah, he fucking called him out right
This must
away.
have been some fucking wonderful eyes. I can tell you that.
They were small too, but anyway.
It was kind of like speak no evil and see no evil, except it was just missing the ears. That would have been awesome. That would have been a good one if you did that.
So he's like, "Oh shit!" So he runs back to the his room, and it's just funny because like he instead of like I don't know, like taking off his clothes or like trying to like hide the fact that he was out there, he just like jumps into bed.
Yeah,
And it covers himself.
Immediately covered himself up in the blanket. This is
and,
good.
and not even like fully, like his like shoulders and chest are showing.
Yeah.
And he's soaking wet.
This is good enough.
The window's still open.
I know. I didn't even close the window.
Didn't even close the window. Like the salt's all broken
Yeah.
up, and
No thought was giving into his escape.
Yeah, he just rolled out and was like, "Fuck it, YOLO," you know. So so he gets back in, not very smart about how he's gonna try to hide his tracks, but I guess he literally only had seconds, so that was the other thing.
He had
too.
time to close the window.
At least to close the window, yeah. And maybe like readjust the doll or whatever he had to do.
Yeah, I mean, close that window for sure. He had time for
Yeah,
that one.
he should have closed it behind him, so all the
that was
water
just-
wouldn't get in. You know.
That was just stupid thinking on his part.
Yeah. He didn't even think. He just did it.
But that's why we make movies.
Right. Yeah. So he gets back in. She knows, you know, but she's playing dumb. She's playing. You know, she's kind of like, okay, fucking Marcus, like, you know, let's play along.
Yeah, takes his word for it.
Yeah, but then, as she leaves the next morning, he finds a spike in his foot, and not just like a little spike. We're talking like a giant like train track like
That's like
nailed spike thing.
It's like a slave nail spike right there.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like this thing was like I don't know what, like 10 inches long or some shit.
That thing
like,
was crazy. Yeah.
yeah, it was so freaking long,
It's a
and it
gnarly
was,
spike.
like you can tell it went through his heel all the way up to like his bone and like you know the I don't know what tibia, fibula, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's still making my feet curl just talking about it.
Yeah, it was like way up in there, and then he wakes up freaking out. I mean, he probably doesn't feel it because he was all drugged up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't even know if it's the next day. We just know that he wakes up, and he's all bandaged up, and he's like what the fuck? So he like takes a look at it, and he sees that giant spike in his leg.
Yeah, it was like a half bandage too. They didn't even bandage that thing up completely. They just threw like a little bit of like padding on it.
They probably wanted him to see it.
Exactly.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wanted him to
That's
see
why
it.
I think so.
Yeah. So he wakes up. He's like, "Oh snap! You know, I got this shit in there." And they leave, right? I think they go to town or something.
They go to town.
Yeah. And that's when he tries to, he takes it out. He struggles to take it out, and like there's like some pus and shit coming out of it. It's gross.
And when you said struggling, it was some huge struggling in that spike scene.
Yeah.
That made me hurt.
Yeah, I was like,
watching it.
I don't even want to know like how long that actually took him to, or realistically how long that would take,
Very great job on that part.
But I don't know. One of the problems I had with this movie is that like he takes it out and he instantly starts hobbling out.
Yeah, it was good.
So I mean, he did struggle. It's not like he just like walked away. He had to like sit down and like
it was all that work.
So he hobbles down and he makes it downstairs. He's trying to figure out what to do next. And then he hears his phone ring, or text messages, or somebody's phone.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's his son's.
It's his son's phone.
Yeah.
Here's his son's phone go off.
And he's looking, and finally finds it. But he's trying to find his son's password. So
which he can't figure out.
He can't figure out. But it's funny because like he's all 6969.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's probably what I would have done.
I know, me too. That was pretty good.
Yeah. I was like, he's like, what is a teenage boy gonna say?
Pretty good.
Yeah, I was like, that's pretty dead ass. So he just takes it back to the room because he runs out of time. He sees that they're coming back, and as he's up there, he's got to put the spike back into his foot, and that shit was like, that was intense.
That was.
Because he had to like he couldn't just push it in. He had to like push his foot against the wood.
Yeah, because he couldn't slip it back into the same spot.
Yeah, just
what it looked like.
So then he had to just like literally repuncture himself, like by basically kicking the wood.
Yeah,
so, like
kick that sucker in.
And that was like, I don't know how he didn't pass out. Like I would have just passed out.
I would have fucking blacked out too.
Yeah, and then
that would have been it. I would have got caught.
Yeah. They might as well just chop off your foot at that point.
Yeah, my foot would have been hanging out.
So I don't know how he didn't pass out, but he didn't pass out, and he puts it back in, and he just kind of, barely wraps his foot around, and they come back in, and she's like, "Were you out again?" He's just like, "No, ma'am, blah 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 blah." I forgot what he says, but he's playing dumb,
And then they take a look at it, and she sees that it's fresh.
Yeah.
But again, she plays stupid. And she wraps it back up.
She wraps it back up, and
or she calls Lewis up to cut off a foot, but then she plays dumb. Yeah. And then wraps it back up. And then they go back on the way.
He got lucky because he almost got his shit cut off.
That's right. Came up with a fucking straight axe too.
Right. He was ready. He was excited to do it.
I know. Lewis.
Yeah. So he actually, after a few minutes or so, he takes off the bell on the thing at some point.
On the door. Yeah.
That's how he escapes, like, the second time, I think. Or
when does he take that off? Is it the second time? I know he takes off at some point.
I think it's, like, right before he got the spike in, I think.
I think it is. I think it is before that part.
Yeah. I forgot what he does it so, like, so
he could get out the room.
Yeah, because like she'll hear the ring, and that's how he got out the first time.
Yeah.
I guess second time.
I think he either does it. I think he does it the second time because when the third time comes up, because they're at the house.
Right.
And then so that's when he pops it. And then he pops it off right before that little knocker thing that's in the bell.
Yeah, the ringer or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I don't know what to call that thing.
The actual bell piece.
Yeah, I have no clue what the hell that is.
Yeah, I don't either. But so he's actually smart enough to do that though, because I probably wouldn't have like even thought.
I wouldn't have thought either. Yeah, I would have tried breaking the bell off.
Or I would have just tried to jump off. I would have just broke the window again and tried to get out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Even though you can't really jump off the roof because
I would have been back on
one
that shit.
Foot. Yeah. I don't know. I would have died for sure. Like, I would have just been fucking their next ritual, So obviously I'm a little out of order on these events, but so essentially he escapes. He finds the airplane in the forest, or not the forest, but the woods or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And so the only thing he sees in the plane is some blood stains, and so the plane is just like in between some trees, right, or some shit like that.
Yeah, it's crashing. It's in some trees. There's no one to be side. There's no one inside. The plane's empty. There's some blood splatter on there, and then does he pass out?
Not at the plane.
Not at the plane? Because I know he falls down to the ground at the plane and he's like fucking like losing his mind or something.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I don't think he passes out though. I think he just kind of like hallucinates for a second. Mm-hmm. So I think like it's just so much like
sees a flashback.
Yeah,
sees a flashback of his father.
Then doesn't he have some flashbacks about like the plane crash itself too, a little bit, or is that maybe that was the fever dreams?
Maybe that was a dream. Yeah.
But yeah, he has a lot of flashbacks of his dad because his dad was very abusive growing up, and we find out some more shit later on. You know about his not so much about his father, but the stuff that his father was into. But yeah.
I'm glad you said that too, because there are a lot of flashbacks throughout that movie.
Yeah.
That
mostly about abuse.
Yeah.
Like he just got his ass whipped like most of his life.
A lot of child abuse in that movie.
Yeah. Which I guess is just a theme to this movie.
Yeah, I guess so. From him to his son.
Well, maybe that's why his son was.
Well, his son got abused in school because his son was getting bullied around.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So no matter what, you're getting abused. I guess. That's the theme. That's the theme of the movie.
No age, you're safe.
Yeah, right. No era either. Just a different kind of abuse.
Lewis.
Yeah, Lewis picks him up, right?
Yeah. So this is where I'm throwing off at. Okay, so he runs to the plane. Does he get his foot? Does he get the spike in his foot after the plane, and then he gets the spike in his foot? Because I'm not sure if he runs to the plane with the spike in his foot, or if he runs to the plane and they get him, and then they spike his foot.
That makes more sense.
I wish I could throw this movie on right now and rewind it, because there's so much happening in the movie.
Yeah.
And because it's not that long of a movie, it's like what?
It's like an hour and a half.
It's like an hour and a half. Yeah. It's short. It flies by. It flies by really fast.
But it's packed in though.
It's packed in. There's a lot of stuff going on between the voodoo and what's his name, Marcus, and the plane and the foot. It all happens very fast.
Yeah. So he only escapes like what 3 times or something like that.
3 times, yeah.
Yeah. But he does find the plane. He Lewis picks him back up. He gets back to maybe that is when he gets the spike.
I think that's when he gets spiked
or into the foot. Yeah. Because he keeps running.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's running all.
Oh, so you know what it was? It was like he gets caught the first time. They put the bell on the door. The next time, right? So that's when he takes it out, and I think that's when he finds a phone. Well, I don't know the order, but he does go to the plane. And that had to have been before the cop then, right?
Yeah, he goes up to the window, and then he gets caught, and then he goes out to the plane, and then he gets caught,
and then finds the phone.
And then he gets finds the phone. Then he goes out to the plane or something like that, and he gets caught. And then he gets a nail in his foot. Then he gets caught. Then he gets a nail in his foot. Then he finds the phone. Right, okay. Then he puts a nail back in his foot, and now the sheriff comes.
Right. So he still sneaks out again. That's great. This one's like so determined. So yeah, he does find the phone, calls the sheriff. He escapes for a moment.
That's right.
Runs into the cop. The cop's just like,
sheriff, huh?
Yeah, he does call the sheriff. The sheriff shows up, but then he leaves. And right as he's leaving, he's like, "Fuck this! This is like my last chance." So so then he books it, and
right in front of him too. He runs into him downstairs.
I think he took out the nail again, right? After, yeah. So basically a weapon. Oh wait, so we missed the whole part though. It's like even before he found the phone though, he went to the basement, right?
He went to the basement. That's right. So we missed the whole fucking section of that movie, huh?
Yeah. See, that's well, that's fine. We can still talk about it.
So yeah. So then.
There's like a couple scenes that I forgot. So like there was one where he digs up the graves and it's just animals.
Yeah.
That was for the rituals.
Oh shit, there's a lot I forgot.
And then that was on the first time he escaped.
As he goes down into the basement, and then and then that's when he sees all the fucking the ritual stuff and the voodoo stuff in the jars and some guys in the coffin missing fucking penises. And
which you took a picture of.
Yeah, great. I got a picture of that too. Don't worry. This is artifact stuff right here. Hold on, this is good stuff. And then
detective work, dude.
Yeah. Crime solving, investigating.
We also see some interesting things about like Eloise herself and how she has been living for like hundreds of years essentially.
Since like the 1860s or something.
Something, yeah. So still a long time. I mean, probably longer, as far as we know. And then he starts to like remember some of the stuff his dad had showed him when he was a kid, and I think he starts to put pieces together. So as he runs off to catch up with the sheriff. He finally runs into the sheriff, and he's just kind of like freaking out, dude, like this weird shit's happening. Like they're not normal people, yada yada yada. And he's like, all right, don't worry, we got this, let's go. And then he brings him back to the barn where everybody's waiting for him, like basically the whole townsfolk. And he's just like, dude, what the fuck? And he's like, man, I try to be nice to you. Like I try to like work with you a little bit, but you made me do this essentially, And so everybody's in on it, like the town,
the
whatever
sheriff.
you want to call it. I don't know if it's even a town.
It's like a little like country town.
It's like a dirt road, like kind of like town, right? Like where it's just like there had to have been like a couple buildings and like a couple farmhouses, essentially, because there's only like 20 people or something like that.
Yeah,
you
it's
see,
probably
like
acres of land and a few houses around all.
Like a barn and like so everybody's there for the ritual because everybody needs something, right? So that's why we had the first ritual for the eyes, the tongue, and then
that was it. The eyes and the tongue
was just the first night.
Yeah.
But they probably were going to do more, but he got caught.
Yeah.
So
I'm probably gonna have a whole party down there.
yeah. So we know that Eloise is doing like a bunch of different spells on different things, and there's even a scene that of course I glossed over, where he's eating the soup or the stew.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's like a.
I was gonna mention that.
Yeah. Yeah, and like gives him like a napkin and bones.
Yeah,
in there,
she's acting like she's like reading chicken bones.
Yeah, so it's like not fortune telling, but like what do you call those? Like you can see like your future or whatever, like foreseeing. Yeah. So at first I thought it was like chicken bones or something.
That's what she made it seem like.
Yeah, but then like he puts them all together and it's just a hand.
It's his son's hand.
Yeah, well we don't know that till later, but.
Well, he knows that because remember he sees the crooked finger.
Oh, that's right. Because one of them was like a weird like shape like.
Yeah, because his son had that broken finger from basketball.
Yeah, so it was all weird looking and stuff.
The broken finger.
So he eats it. He figures it out. He starts throwing it up, and then we fast forward a little bit to the barn, and he gets he gets caught, gets to the barn, and then his family's there too, and he's like freaking out because they're all like zombified.
Mm-hmm.
She obviously used that powder stuff on them as she did to him at some point.
Yeah. But then because before he does that, before the barn stuff happens, then he makes the boogity doll of her.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And I think.
And that's when his roots start coming back into play.
Right.
Because he starts remembering kind of who he is and where his dad came from.
And like what he showed him.
Because his dad is from that little country town.
Yeah.
And then it comes to the blood magic spell where it's blood of my blood, seed of my seed, flesh of my flesh.
Right.
Is the spell that they're doing on him, which is the blood of whatever his foot.
Then his son's hand.
Flesh. And then the seed of his fucking sperm.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know how. Yeah, I'm kind of glad they glossed over that.
Because all I'm thinking about it was either his sperm or his son's sperm.
Well, that was his dick. He didn't know it.
It's his son.
Or his son's dick. He wasn't using it anyway.
That's what that was right. And then now it goes to now they're in the barn.
After the barn, his family's alive, thankfully.
Yeah,
they do show that his son is missing his hand.
Yeah, and he's pretending that he's being asleep because he switched up the valves on her.
Right.
He dumped the valves, so before they take him to the barn, she hits him with the magic dust, poof, and then fucking because he switched the dust, he acted as
like he was like a zombie
he
or
was
whatever.
Down, yeah.
It gets kind of interesting because then you see like, he smartens up and you see like
he smartens up a lot.
Yeah. You see like he's able to turn the tides essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So he hid the doll. So he made the doll of her and also Lewis.
Yeah.
And so we see like as he's like trying to escape because he fools her. He's not really zombified. She's kind of like about to like do whatever she's gonna do with him. But then at one point he throws the what happens, like they start to fight or some shit. And
before he starts to fight, he runs to like this water pump well.
Yeah,
and he puts something in the water pump well, but it doesn't show what he puts in there.
Yeah,
And then as they're fighting, because this happens after he wakes up from this, because they're gonna do a transference spell.
Yeah.
And then Earl was like, "Yeah, I'm ready, baby. Give it to me." And fucking, and then he woke up.
I want my shit to work again.
Yeah, he like, jumped up, stabbed Earl, and fucking Earl got it
with his spike, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Earl got it. That's for sure.
He got something.
And then he hits. Then he woke up his family, and he hit something in that water. And then when Luis got called out by Eloise to attack him, then that's when we realized that
it was the
voodoo doll Luis that he put in the water, and he ended up drowning.
So he was drowning in the mid-fight, and which is kind of gnarly, you know.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I liked Luis. I thought his character was tight just because it was just some fucking buff black dude.
Well, because you need a monster in your movie.
Yeah.
You know, so and he's
running
obviously
around just fucking.
And he's obviously like the presence of danger, you know, because he can like snap your neck in an instant. You know?
He put fear into you.
Yeah, and no matter who he's around, you're just like, as long as Eloise or Earl tells him what to do, he's gonna do it no matter what, you know. Even if he hurts himself, like he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
He's basically a robot.
He was an intimidating character in that movie.
So he is literally the monster of the movie, and so the cool thing I liked about the Boogity dolls too is like the power that it held within each doll. So. I mean, we see that he collected all the dolls from Eloise, you know, because he like breaks into her thing.
And I think all the dolls happen to be all the dolls of the townsfolk.
Yeah, and that's why he's like he brings them all, and he's essentially threatening everybody.
Yeah, they were scared of shit.
Yeah,
they came out all damn dolls.
Because if he could have dumped it in the water, he could have threw it in the fire, everybody would have burned to death. You know? He could have like ripped off the head and they were just instantly died. And then also the cool thing was like earlier in the film, you see that she like throws the doll, and he like flies across the room. You know, so you see that too. Is like the power of the doll itself is like she's able to physically do things to him without actually having to touch him.
Yeah, there's significant power into those dolls that they bring into those movies, which is crazy because it's like Eloise must have had a lot of power in that little community for her to have all those dolls in her possession.
I mean, she had a sheriff in check. You know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
She could have done anything she wanted to.
She had that whole town poisoned.
Yeah, she was literally like
the voodoo priestess.
The voodoo priestess, and also like just like the big dog, like the mafia boss, essentially. You
top
know,
notch.
She could have done anything she wanted, got away with it.
It's top flight right there.
Unless she had like an army go after her, and then of course she's fucked.
She would have made boogity dolls on all those motherfuckers.
That'd be an interesting thing to see, like her growth. You know, if there was growth. So he makes the doll of Lewis, kills Lewis, makes the doll of her earlier in the movie, and hides that one under like the steps.
Yeah, who was the doll under the steps?
That was her.
That was Eloise?
Yeah, so he like grabbed her doll at some point. So then like while she's like trying to like control him and the family, that's when he like does the same thing that she did to him earlier in the movie, where he like throws her and she flies across the barn.
Yeah.
You know, and then he does like that weird salt thing, and then burns the barn so she can't escape. Like,
he puts the salt down and says, so the devil can't get in.
The devil can't get in or out.
She happens to be the devil.
Yeah,
so
well, I think it's
she can't get out
because he had her doll, and like I think because he had the possession of that doll, like she couldn't leave with certain.
I think it's because she was so damn evil. That she could have got out of that fucking barn.
Well, because in other like rituals and stuff like that, not just in like voodoo or hoodoo, whatever you want to call it, they use that for spirits.
Yeah.
You know, like salt to like keep away spirits to like come in through any buildings or walls or whatever you want to call it, windows. You know.
Like in exorcism movies. And
shit. Like and they just so spirits cannot enter certain rooms or leave rooms or like within the vicinity of those. Like salt patterns or whatever. So
salt's used a lot in things like that.
Yeah. So he basically used it on her, so she was gonna burn into the barn, because they knock over some shit, and the barn starts to go up in flames. Yeah, after he wakes up the family.
Yeah. They all gonna knock over some shit and catch
on fire. They catch on fire. Yeah. It was like some candles and some shit. I don't know. So like. You know, it starts to come in flames. He pours the salt at the door. She can't get out. which is I don't know. I don't know how you felt about her death, but
it could.
it was
I don't know.
epic.
It was alright because it was just I get it. They were just trying to end the movie at that
Yeah.
point, and they said, okay, let's just kill her off. But I mean, it could have been a lot better.
Yeah, I feel like the finale could have been a little more oomph to it.
Because it doesn't even show her burning.
Yeah.
It's like a CGI effect, and then she's just
and
standing
then
and it just blows up.
it blows up.
You know. Like
yeah, and then
I
so
wanted, I wanted to see some like gore and like some like fucking
Like her melting
They
or
showed
something?
all the other gore,
yeah.
you know, or fucking, you know, if you want to call it gore, you know, and
It could have been like a contractual thing with her. Like maybe she didn't want to like look, burned up.
I don't give a shit. If you guys doing a horror movie,
Yeah.
you gotta go all out. It don't matter.
Well, because she's like she normally doesn't play roles like that. I think because I've seen her in other stuff.
I didn't even look up anything that she was in.
She's been on like I mean I can't on top of my head think about stuff right now, but I've seen her in other things, and they're like not horror. They're just like so maybe she like was okay with doing the film, but not looking into like a burnt to a crisp or whatever it was. Because you know how like some other actors like they just refuse to do certain things.
Yeah.
So like The Rock refuses to lose fights, and things like that. So maybe that was like, yeah, it's a weird. No, it's like literally in his contract. Like he can't.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. There's like receipts on that shit, and so maybe like she didn't want to like do that thing. Who knows?
You know.
It could have been the studio.
It would have been awesome though if they did.
Yeah, it would have made more like the movie a little more effective.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. It's just a movie about a shitty town that was using hoodoo to like kind of like healing themselves and also making the.
Oh wait! Don't forget. After they do leave, it does do a little skip back to, what the fuck's her name?
Eloise?
Eloise's doll.
Yeah,
And it does
the eyes open up. Right?
Yeah, it does zoom in on the doll, and then her eyes.
Which
open
I thought
up.
was kind of dumb too.
She ain't dead. She living in that doll. I can tell you that.
Yeah. She's gonna. I don't think they'll ever make a sequel.
No.
It's already 5 years.
Please don't. They'll ever make a sequel to that movie. But I think that's what it is because
If they pay me to do so, too, I'll do it.
Because the only thing I can think of is that she's alive in that doll, and that's because of what she said. Is that the more that something about like the more the doll's there, the more it becomes like you. And I've obviously her doll's probably been around for a long time, and it's probably
Almost 20 years.
And oh yeah, so the more good things that happen, the more the doll becomes like you. And most likely I think that doll has now become Louise.
But didn't he made that doll though?
He did make that.
He did make the doll.
Shit, I don't know. Then I don't know what.
So
to
maybe
say.
her soul just transferred to it anyway.
Yeah, maybe.
Because like she was so powerful already.
Yeah. There's no explanation in what they did. What they did fucking in the movie. It don't make sense.
That's why I kind of brushed over it. Because I was like, that was stupid.
I thought I had a whole thing going until you said that. Now it fucking just shut me down. I don't know what to say anymore about that.
So my assumption is that she transferred her soul into the doll, kind of like Chucky,
Yeah.
But like she probably didn't have to do ritual. She's so powerful already that maybe she had like a contingency plan of
Just
like
drifted right
doing
into
it. Yeah, maybe her soul just. Well, she was like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna keep living. I don't care how I live. I'm gonna keep living. Remember, like on what was that movie? I think it was with I can't think. Training Day. What's that guy's name?
Denzel Washington.
Denzel Washington. Remember he did like with the psycho murder? Was it Falling?
Yeah.
Okay, where like the
where he touches somebody and
his soul transfers.
Falling.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, remember at the end of the film, he goes to do a cat.
Great movie too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He goes to a cat at the very end.
At the very end.
When they're in the woods and shit.
Yeah.
That was a good movie.
That was a good ass movie. But maybe she did something like that where she like at the last second she was like, maybe she ran to the doll and just like
fucking knows what she did.
Who knows? Yeah.
Maybe she just I don't know what she did. And somehow she got on that fucking thing.
Yeah.
And now
But everybody's dead. No, actually no. The town's still alive. Earl's dead, obviously. Lewis is dead. Eloise is apparently alive. But the town folks still live on because they were too scared to like chase after him because he had all their dolls.
yeah, so
like in one spot.
Easy, quick escape.
Yeah. That's basically
That's
the
it.
story.
It ends pretty much right after that. They
Yeah.
walk off into
They
the
just walk
woods
off.
with the box of dolls in his hand. They live happily ever after.
Wait, didn't they take the sheriff truck?
Maybe they did.
I don't forget. But
They drive off into the woods happily
yeah, I totally did. Yeah.
ever after.
Son's missing a hand, but it's cool.
They do drive off, and then it zooms back on the doll, and then eyes blink at him. Boom. You get credits.
So I wanted to talk about really quick about not only just because now we're past the story. My biggest complaint about this movie, and I actually like the actress that played Eloise, but I was laughing at her accent, like her southern, her southern accent, because it reminded me of like me trying to do like a British accent, like it just felt so bad, like it felt so forced, and like it didn't like you can tell she like practiced it, and it just didn't like.
It was a try. She tried. It was a try hard.
Yeah.
She overdid it.
And I was kind of like, damn, this sucks because I felt like it kind of took away from the movie a little bit.
She overdid her voice, and she overdid a lot of her acting.
Yeah, she's
really over the top.
Yeah, she's normally a good actress, but for some reason, like this movie just was way too over the top for her. I think you're right. She tried too hard, and then you can see it on screen where you're just kind of like, man, like that kind of ruined like some of the scenes,
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was like, Earl's cool because he's not trying too hard. He's just kind of like there, He doesn't say a lot, but that was kind of a good thing for his character.
Yeah.
I also saw a lot of things online about this movie about how it was kind of like a mix of like misery and.
I see that now.
Yeah,
because of the foot. You know what? When I saw the nail in the foot, the first thing I thought of was misery where she cradles. I think it's called cradling somebody, where you break someone's ankles in misery. Mm. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw a nail in his foot. I said, "Fucking, this is like misery."
Yeah.
Where she.
I kept reading about stuff like that online, and I was like, "Oh, that makes sense." And also Skeleton Key, because remember how their souls are transferring into other people.
I forgot about Skeleton Key. Yeah. But misery, yes. And
yeah.
that did come on mind.
Even though they didn't transfer the souls, they still like absorb, I guess, people's energy.
They were trying to do that, still similar to what they were doing.
Yeah, so they were.
I feel like they were transferring souls at the very end of that movie, because I felt like they were either taking his soul or transferring his souls into them. They were doing something with their spirits, which
I think they were absorbing their spirits, but it keeps them young though.
Something like that.
Yeah, because remember that picture was from like 1860 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then she still looked the same.
What the fuck was that picture from? I actually wrote that shit.
It was like, early slavery basically, or when did slavery officially end? Like the 20s, 30s?
It was in 1860.
Yeah, but okay. Well, it was still like
like slavery times, because there were slaves in that picture.
Yeah.
They were on the plantation.
So, so I think they were just stealing energy and staying alive.
You can ask me when slavery time ended. I'm sorry, I don't know.
I don't either. But I know actually in some states it was like really late. I think it was.
I'm one of the only black guys that don't really know when slavery time ended.
Yeah, see, I don't know shit about Mexico history. I'm Mexican. I don't know shit about it. Only thing I do know is like Cinco de Mayo is not really Independence Day.
Yep, I know that one.
Yeah.
It's the fight for freedom or something like that.
It's one of the battles is won. That's why they celebrate.
One of the things I do.
But people mistaking it for Independence. But anyway.
One of the things I liked about the movie was that I didn't feel that it explained a lot of shit to me.
Yeah.
Like it didn't explain his background. I wish it had more flashbacks of who he was and where he came from, to explain this heritage that was shown in the film, and there was just certain other things that I just didn't get it. Like,
so they brushed over that a lot because Eloise even says like, well, your dad's from here, and she says something else like in regards of like who he is or his character, but they don't explain anything besides him being abusive, and like. They kind of brush over the fact that he does know how to do like all that hoodoo stuff, but they don't show him like ever showing Michael or what's that guy's name?
Marcus.
Marcus. They don't show him like showing Marcus any of the stuff, but like later in the film we see him like trick her.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. So they brush over that whole thing, and I'm like, that's a weird plot hole.
Yeah. So it's clear that he knows about this whole fucking culture down there.
Yeah.
You know, he just fucking
He just forgets it
he
or
just
whatever.
blacked it out of his history so he could have a new life.
Which I know trauma could do that.
Yeah.
You can black out certain things in your life. But that was a weird plot hole too that I did notice too. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess he knows how to do shit.
Yeah. Unexplained facts.
Yeah.
You know, but
that was one of the weird things about the movie. But you know,
there's a lot of weird things about this movie.
yeah.
One of the weird things is a compliment to this movie.
But at least it's one of those films that like, because there's not a lot of like movies about hoodoo. You know, we had spoken off the wax that like, you know, like in Child's Play they have like the voodoo character and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's always been like misinformed in the media and stuff like that. You know, so like when they introduced that stuff in the 80s, it was like there wasn't too much to explain because they only give you like a small piece of it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think doesn't Candyman kind of brush on that a little bit? Like, or is that just like damn soul kind of thing?
Candyman is like a damn soul.
Just a damn soul thing. Because I know. All right.
That's how Candyman is like haunting motherfuckers in the projects.
Yeah.
That's all Candyman was.
Okay.
This is the motherfucker that killed a whole bunch of kids and then died, and it started haunting the whole fucking project.
Well, and plus like parents and stuff. It was crazy. Yeah, this movie was just weird. It wasn't a. I wouldn't say it's a bad movie. I wouldn't say it's a terrible movie, but it was kind of like one of those movies where like you could just watch it on cable.
It's one.
You know?
It's one of those movies that if you've never seen it and you happen to stumble upon it, then yeah, you just watch it. Because that's exactly what happened to me. I came across it.
Yeah. I would have never known about it until you were like, hey, let's check this out. I'm like, all right, fuck it. Like, I had nothing to do, you know. I feel like the guy that played Marcus T. Woods did a good job.
Yeah.
During the entire movie, he's a good actor.
His acting was good.
Yeah, I like him. Like even like the spike scene, I was like, damn, that fool looked like he was in pain, like legit. You know?
He did a really good job.
Yeah. I think he was the only good part of the movie, honestly.
He was. He made. If it wasn't for him, this movie would have been complete shit.
It would have been like a sci-fi movie.
It would have been done.
Sci-fi Channel movie for sure.
Yeah, it would have been toast. That's for sure. But yeah, I give it up to Marcus for actually making this movie watchable. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been
It would have
watchable.
been really, really bad.
It would have been hard.
What would you rate this movie if you had to like?
A 1 out of 5 or something? A 1. A 1.5 maybe? Because now after talking about it, dude, it made it sound a lot worse than it was when I watched it.
Yeah.
And it kind of brought this movie down for me. I went into this, you know, having like, you know, I'm gonna give it like a fucking 3 or something like that, right? Like an okay score.
Yeah.
You know, but now I have to like dissect this movie and actually beating it up. You know, it's all right.
Yeah, I feel like this movie could have been better if there was just a little more to it, you know. So, like, I wish I would have known a little bit more about some of the characters, you know, because I know it's just a horror film. You're not really supposed to know about the characters of horror films, but like I feel like some of the characters should have had a little bit more backstory. Like obviously, like Marcus's dad, like they should have elaborated a little bit more on that. Which it would have made more sense on like the finale, you know, of him like knowing how to like reverse these things or whatever it was. I wish Eloise didn't have a really weird accent, like,
Yeah.
or like not a weird accent, but like she tried too hard.
Over the top.
Yeah, like I'm gonna be generous, and out of 5, I'll probably give this a 2, just because there was some really good scenes in there. Like the spike scene was really good.
No, it was a good scene.
Yeah, that was probably the best part of the movie. Yeah. And the guy's acting was good. He's probably the only good actor in the movie.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think 2 out of 5. I'd be generous to say. I think they had good intentions on like writing this movie about like giving some exposure to like that culture.
Yeah, I bet when they read it, they were probably like, yeah, this is gonna be good. And
It's gonna be good.
then they did fucking film it, and they're like, oh, we fucked up.
But you can tell, like the director was just getting it for a check. You know, he's like, all right, well, we'll do what we can with the shitty script we have. You know.
Yeah.
So,
I think it would have been better if they had a little bit more backstory to it. And,
yeah.
And it'll probably be a little bit better if they cut out the whole beginning of him being at home and use that space of time and just start it off flying into fucking Kentucky.
See, that makes sense to me.
Taking off from
Yeah.
there. You
And
know?
then they could have used more flashbacks with like
Yeah.
the father or something.
Because the whole beginning had nothing to do with the fucking movie.
Yeah, didn't have anything to do with the like his job didn't have anything to do with like his trip out there or his wife getting stuck in the room.
No,
like,
that first 15, 20 minutes of the movie had nothing to do.
except for like when they landed the plane and like
I would have skipped over that too. Fuck the guy.
Well,
Fuck the cast, dude.
yeah, but then you have but that sets up the creepiness for the town though.
Yeah,
Because then you have the guy that owns the gas station, then you have the kid going in there and be like, being all weird too, like, so that kind of set the tone for like where they're going.
I would have started it. They're in the plane flying, talking about fucking his dad's death, and then pop.
And then just, I mean, that could have worked too. And then they could have like just elaborated more on like some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
They really could have skipped over a lot of shit.
Yeah, they could.
But I don't know. Like I said, generous 2 out of 5 for me.
It's pretty fucking generous.
Just mainly because of that spike scene. That spike scene was like really up in it.
Yeah.
I mean that's all for me for this film.
That's all I got.
Yeah. So if whoever's listening, you can follow me on Instagram at Cali_DTO. That's about it. I don't really use any of the socials besides like Facebook and stuff, but that's too private. So
if you want to follow me on Instagram, that's Bay Area Creep. Go ahead and shoot me something.
we'll be around.
Peace.
Once again, this is Spooky Crew. Peace out.
Peace.